We have an update on that horrific Georgia story of the woman charged with murder for self-managing her abortion.
Plus, in Florida, a pregnant woman in active labor had a Zoom call wheeled into her hospital room, and the judge forced her to have a C-section. And she wasn't the first. This has happened to another woman.
And we just keep finding piles of cash to pour into wars and ICE and billionaire tax breaks. And now fake clinics, just another useless right-wing pet project, are siphoning even more tax dollars like literally never before.
Liz and I will lay out just how much money and how little oversight goes into this anti-abortion grift that you are paying for.
Plus, musician and author Jason Narducy talks about his amazing career playing with some incredible musicians, his Pizzagate ties, and why his R.E.M songbook project with Michael Shannon decided to support abortion rights.
All this coming up on this episode of the Feminist Buzzkills podcast, the show that has had as many negotiations with Iran as the Trump administration. Possibly more, Liz.
Possibly more. The lies keep coming. You know, it's like all I did was hear on the news was like, Trump is saying they're having great negotiations with Iran. And Iran's like, he doesn't even go here. Who? What? Like, they're like, no, not even a little.
To have the cojones to lie on that scale is wild.
I mean, just everything. It's so weird to have a life where you can just say anything. You just say anything you want. And then you just go through life. And that is your life. Like just lying and saying shit.
Just lying. Anyway, I'm Moji Alaworeo, and I am joined by my co-host, Liz Winstead.
That's me. And as promised, we have a lot coming up in the show. But we did want to kick it off with an update on that story we've all been following coming out of Georgia about the woman charged with murder for allegedly trying to self-manage her abortion. Well, oh my God, it's so good. The judge in the case this week weighed in, and he is simply having none of the state shenanigans.
Yep, Judge Stephen G. Blackerby of State Superior Court expressed extreme skepticism. He said, I think that charge is extremely problematic. This is going to be a hard charge to convict upon. Same thoughts, Judge. Same.
Yeah, same. I think the world was like, yeah, you don't need to have a black robe to figure out this shit's problematic. But, you know, Moji, even the DA who was looking at the case and bringing the case, he was not convinced either that this woman should be in prison for the medication abortion. In fact, he said to the judge, you know, whatever bond the defendant can make that will allow her to get out of jail is appropriate. So the judge set the bail at just $1. And also, the DA noted that police in Kingsland, Georgia, had brought the charges against this pregnant person without the DA's support at all.
Which is believable. And the DA also said he was not quite ready to drop the murder charge altogether, but he also was not prepared to present this case to the grand jury.
So the woman who's been charged, whose name we are purposely not saying, has been in jail for 2 weeks when the hearing took place.
And if you haven't heard all of the details, investigators accuse her of unlawfully and with malicious forethought causing the death of baby girl Moore. In addition to the malice murder, they also charged her with possession of a controlled substance and a dangerous drug. That drug, in case you're wondering, is misoprostol.
And isn't dangerous. So we're going to be following this for you because it's been one of the abortion stories that has broken through into the media. And we wanted to make sure that you had the updates on it. But hopefully this poor woman will be able to go home and be allowed to heal.
I sure hope so. Also, people, did you get a chance to read the ProPublica expose about birth doula in Florida who did not want to have a C-section because, well, she'd had 3 already. And she was a person experienced in birth and just felt like it was worth it to try to deliver vaginally. So Sharice Doyley is a Black woman, and when she noted that she was the only Black person involved in her hearing, the judge said, I don't find that race really has much to do with this, ma'am. But the same thing has happened at this hospital before, and that woman was also Black.
Yeah, since when does race not have something to do with it?
Listen, it's not always about race, but it's always about race.
Exactly. Not all men, but it's always men. So anyway, this judge, and there's so many parts that are infuriating, but the judge named Michael Khalil told her that the state had filed this emergency briefing at the hospital's behest, not out of concern for Ms. Doyley per se, but in the interest of her pregnancy, which they call the unborn child. And he described the circumstances as extraordinary, Moji.
Listen, I believe that. And citing concern about the state of the fetus, a nurse told her to cover up. And then they just handed her an iPad with 15 people on a Zoom, and that included the judge.
Seriously, she had no warning, no legal representation, and like Moji said, was in active labor for almost an entire day, and then had to be subjected to a 3-hour hearing on an iPad with 12 people where the judge ruled the hospital could force a C-section.
And they did force a C-section. And what's the most infuriating to me is that after they forced the C-section that she had explicitly said she didn't want, spent 3 hours fighting, and she wanted to see her child in the NICU for the first time, the judge in the case, the judge Michael Khalil, just said that he couldn't order the hospital to do anything, that the matter he'd been appointed to hear involved only her unborn baby, and he had no authority over the child in the nursery. So he only cared while it was in her body. Now that the child was living and breathing, fuck that shit. They don't care about pregnant people or children. They just care about fucking fetuses.
Well, and clearly the second Miss Doyley went into the hospital, they looked at her chart, they saw she had previous C-sections, and when she asked to not have one, you know that they got the state involved immediately. I just know it, because how could they be there so quickly? Right. So it's just obnoxious. And especially in Florida, where like judges seem to be picking and choosing when they can intervene. You know, this is a state where you have the freedom to not get vaccinated or not have fluoridated water and the whole thing. And so what I want to do is just pull out a second from this specific story to just the how C-section coercion is just so prevalent in this country. This was the second one at this hospital, like we said.
Well, pregnancy is the only condition where Florida has basically said that a patient can just be forced to undergo unwanted treatment. So even if you were a prisoner in the state and you decided you wanted to, I don't know, have a hunger strike or whatever, you have more rights to make your medical decisions. C-sections are really common, but it's major abdominal surgery. A third of deliveries in the US are actually done by C-section. I had a C-section. The recovery can be brutal. And when the Supreme Court was asked to consider the constitutionality of a court-appointed C-section, in 2024, they just said, who knows, and just left it for states to decide state by state, similar to how they've done abortion.
And, you know, just in that vacuum, 29 states have passed laws that allow hospitals to just ignore a patient's advance directives. It's the only procedure where you can just do that. And, you know, if you deny somebody's advance directive, that's what outlines the kinds of sustaining treatment that you want, whether you have a catastrophic illness or an accident. And it's really just obscene.
It is obscene. And this is what personhood does to us.
Yeah. It roots us in all kinds of actions that take legal rights away from us, right? By intervening to save the fetus and thus removing the rights of the person who's pregnant.
So we're going to put a link in our show notes to those 29 states. And if one of them is where you live, I want you to rally against legislators who put forth or support these kind of laws. And if you're pregnant, look at the history of the place you plan to give birth. And if you have the luxury to, try to avoid hospitals that have evidence of this kind of behavior so you can have the birth you want.
That's right. There's just too many narcs for my liking in hospitals these days, and it's really a bummer. And so let's try to support each other and not have this shit happen. So we got so much more show coming up. But before we get to all of our big stories and 6 Degrees and Jason, we've got some birthday shout outs we have, and we have some activism we want you to know about.
So happy early birthday to Sophia Yin.
Sophia Yin! She is one of our favorites. She is an awesome supporter here. She is an awesome activist herself, running Pandia Health, helping people get birth control online and mailed to them. And Sophia Yin is awesome. We're going to put a link to Pandia Health as a birthday gift to Sophia. So Sophia, we love you and we hope you are having the best birthday week and month.
Hell yeah. And listen, you are tuning in because, let's face it, Liz and I are great. So if you haven't already joined, consider joining the Patreon so you too can have your own birthday shout out from us on air.
Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, 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 pew. Not only will you get the shout out, you'll also support great content and get cool FBK merch and experiences. All pledges support this pod and all of our activism at Abortion Access Front. So you can pledge at patreon.com/Feminist Buzzkills.
And lastly, our featured bit of activism. You know, AAF offers so many opportunities to get active, and one of our favorites is our mutual aid program called Adopt a Clinic.
Adopt a Clinic is a great way for the public to support independent clinics, abortion funds, clinic escort groups, and patients directly by ordering much-needed items from their wish lists. This week, we're showcasing Care for All Community Clinic in Milwaukee. This incredible indie clinic is the real deal and sees patients regardless of their ability to pay. They even have a client pantry that patients patients can get free supplies from. Unfortunately, that pantry is low on baby wipes and diapers, so if you can send them some, please do so through their wish list in the show notes.
They are such a great clinic to adopt. I've been there several times. I've watched it get built from studs up. I've been there to escort. I brought my dog, Mr. Funk, as a pup score to be a patient, like a support dog. It's really a beautiful place. And the fact that they work so hard, please, please, please support them. I love them. So let's get to the steaming dump of this week's abortion news.
New statistics show that in the state of Iowa, there are only 3 OBGYNs for every 10,000 Iowa women, the lowest number of OBGYNs per capita of any state in this country.
I get that everybody wants to be number one at something, but taking the top spot and having the least amount of doctors would seem weird until you remember what this Iowa senator said about losing access to health care.
People are not, well, we all are going to die. So, for heaven's sakes.
So, this is an Iowa feature, not a bug. Got it.
In better news, EGOT extraordinaire Viola Davis has teamed up with best-selling author James Patterson on a novel called Judge Stone about the trial of a doctor who performed an abortion on a teen in a state with an abortion ban.
Teaming up with Patterson is a pretty big deal for abortion storytelling, as he sold over 250 million books, and 1 in every 17 hardcover books sold in America was written or co-written by Patterson. For context, that's 45,000 books for every 10,000 Iowa women.
That's a lot of books. I bet they'd rather have doctors than James Patterson mystery novels.
Oh, it'd be nice to have doctors.
I mean, maybe both. Anyway, finally, speaking of non-doctors, the Trump administration had its 2026 Women's Health Summit, and it was chock full of maha hot takes.
This 3-day medical moronathon was a who's who of literally no one asked you, with a lecture from an anti-abortion researcher advising that 8-year-old girls should shut up about soccer practice and start focusing on their fertility and landing a husband.
And who doesn't want Billy Joel's wife to lead a panel of doctors who share their discomfort with the idea of prescribing birth control pills as a treatment for reproductive health challenges because it doesn't align with their values? Bitch, your values don't align with the Hippocratic Oath, if I might.
Other panels included talent scouts from ABC's The Pubescent Bachelorette and the benefits of douching with raw chicken. Shudder.
Oh, my fucking God.
You're not supposed to do anything with raw chicken, Liz, except for cook it.
Yeah, with it, and you never touch it.
It's pretty gross.
Should we get to our biggest story of the week?
Hell yeah. So, as we watch this fascist regime pour money into hideous projects while denying and cutting funds for USAID, ACA subsidies, Medicare, Medicaid, and children's health programs, we thought it was a good backdrop to revisit how much state and federal governments are throwing at fake abortion clinics. For example, from 2022 to 2025, 21 states directed $429 million, that's with an M, dollars to fake clinics without accounting or oversight for what these anti-abortion orgs do with that money.
Well, we know it's definitely not going to healthcare because,
oh, hell no.
These centers don't provide prenatal care or birth control. Most don't do STI treatments or testing. And the sonograms that they do are rarely done by experts. In fact, our friend, Dr. Kristen Lyerly, who's a Wisconsin OBGYN, reported that a patient came to her with their sonogram from a fake clinic, and it was actually a sonogram emoji of her bladder.
What did they find in the bladder? Urine?
I mean, who knows? They probably photoshopped it.
These funds are also not going towards helping families in poverty. Like, let's take Missouri, for example. In 2026, 2/3 of the dollars that were given to the fake clinics in Missouri will come from federal TANF funds. And these are temporary assistance for needy family funds. And again, no oversight for what they're doing with that money.
And 42% of Missouri counties are maternity healthcare deserts to begin with, and fake clinics don't help that crisis. And this TANF money and the way that they are diverting funds from like CHIPS and social programs is really important, because what happens is a lot of times when people go to these fake clinics, they will go in, and one of the things the fake clinics promise to do in their helping of people is to sign them up for these programs. So what they're doing is fraudulently signing them up for programs these clinics know will not be around, because that money is being diverted to fund them. And their only function is a grift. And these places, just to be clear, it's not like these places are taking like TANF money and recreating or reimagining that same kind of program. They aren't. And we know this because we have talked to people who have gone to these fake places and have reported there is no sustaining assistance.
Yeah, and Florida always continues to Florida. When they passed their 6-week abortion ban in 2023, the legislators simultaneously increased the state funding for crisis pregnancy centers, which is what they call these fake clinics, by 455%. That basically means they used to get $4.5 million, and now they get $25 million for nothing. And then the next legislative session, they were like, 25 million is enough. Let's give them an additional $4.5 million. Like, they don't need them. They're not even doing healthcare.
I know. There's so many states we could go on. Indiana diverted all of their funds that they were funding clinics to like crisis pregnancy centers. And then they had an outbreak of HIV. They didn't have clinics to treat people. Texas has over $250 million. They fund fake clinics. And Georgia, they're doing, it's not just these fake clinics, right? There's like fake clinic adjacent maternity homes that are run by Christian extremists. And HUD federally gave them a $450,000 block grant to build this maternity home in Atlanta. And county commissioners approved the money despite giant, massive local opposition from community members who came out and said, look, this is just a fake clinic that's on steroids, and they are deceiving people about what's true. And they're also, you know, because they're sort of cloaked in that, I'm air quoting all over the place, Christian values, that these maternity homes are also just basically 3 square meals, and 2 of those meals are shame.
They only house people for like 6 months after you've given birth. So that's not housing preservation and development. That's what I'm saying. What they're funding is self-promotion, religious indoctrination. They're funding the overhead and the salaries for the people who work there, for the people who aren't volunteering. And they're funding March for Life trips for the kids.
That's exactly correct. They are not funding any medical care, any kind of sustaining family care. They are not funding needy families. They are not funding anything. And, you know, to close out why this is one of the big reasons that these places are so scary is the privacy grift, right? So we talk a lot about what they don't provide and all that kind of stuff. And part of them not being a healthcare center is that there is no HIPAA. So when you walk in vulnerable to these places, the first thing you do is fill out a lot of your medical data, a lot of your personal data, and they have no obligation to keep any of that private because they're not a healthcare facility, but you don't know that, so you give it all away, right? So the government really likes to make sure that they have these well-funded places to gather people's information so they can criminalize people, track undocumented pregnant people, get all of this info to for-profit adoption agencies, and to fill the Project 2026 agenda that squarely centers the value of Christianity's role as turning women and people with uteruses into subjugants and breeders. And that is something that we really need to look at because it's like, it's so colossal and it's so much money and there's so many layers to the grift that I'm really glad we talked about this week when we're just watching so much money going to a war and them asking for so much money and stuff, and just knowing that like this subset is another place where just money's being hemorrhaged when it could be helping people.
It's heartbreaking, actually, that money's being hemorrhaged. Like, I can't believe that you could feed people, but instead you give them non-health care.
And I'm really glad that our Show Your Whole Ass this week features some creep who's like responsible for making sure this money is going to fake clinics.
Well, you know, each week we try to dive into the bowels of the internet and just do what we like to call a misogynistic colonoscopy.
Healthcare.
We find the worst comments that politicians, preachers, men in the wild, podcasters have said about abortion, sex, or gender. So this week we have Scott Yinner, some muckety muck at the Heritage Foundation with a stupid ass title that doesn't actually tell us anything.
If every Nobel Prize winner is a man, that's not a failure. It's kind of a cause for celebration. Why can't our celebration of male excellence in sports be translated into all facets of life? More successful men will mean more happy citizenry and a stronger nation.
Oh, fuck. Why should men continue to have everything, Liz?
I don't know. I mean, like, look, he makes a fair point that celebrating male excellence takes about 10 minutes. So yeah, we do it for 10 minutes and then we stop. Because the truth is, we are 24/7, 365 celebrating male mediocrity. And as in point, look at this asshole. Dude, you are a walking moral failing.
And basically, he just wants men to get all the accolades while our accomplishments are ignored. And on top of that, he wants, and I'm never going to stop this, he wants us to celebrate.
Yeah, he does. It's called trickle-down fulfillment, Moji. It is the new conservative way that they get all the joy and the accolades, and then if something's left over, falls down on their shirt and it comes down to us, and maybe somebody will give us a reward for cleaning it up.
Listen, he says more successful men will mean more happy citizenry and a stronger nation. And maybe it's me, but it sure seems like women's happiness isn't anywhere in that nation equation.
Look, also, who are these successful men who are making us happier and running the nation good in existence? Where are they? Trump, JD, Cash, Miller, Rubio, Hegseth, Mark Wayne? I see no one.
Bueller, seriously, crickets, Liz.
Fuck these guys. It's fucking terrible. I can't believe we have to live through it. It's just so wild to me that he can, with a straight face, say, you know what? Why can't we celebrate men more?
This man has a wife and 5 children, and I just wonder, I want him to have some shame. I want him to look at him saying that and feel a little bit of shame. Let's bring shame back to some of these men.
Let's make shame great again. I feel like that's a really good transition to 6 degrees. We haven't done one of these in a while. You know, if you listen to the pod, you know, it's the party game that's faster than Monopoly and more fun than Taboo. It's 6 degrees of abortion. This is where Moji takes a story ripped from the headlines, and I have 6 chances to try to link it to abortion. Moji, will you stump me?
I might. So the #1 movie in the nation right now is Project Hail Mary, starring Ryan Gosling and a puppet in space. So Liz, do you think you can, in 6 degrees or more, link Ryan Gosling to abortion?
I don't know. I guess I could, yeah. I think he was in the Barbie movie.
He sure was.
Right? And so he was in the Barbie movie, and America Ferrera was in the Barbie movie.
Sure was.
And America Ferrera is a personal, like, straight up spokesperson for Planned Parenthood. So Ryan Gosling to Barbie to America Ferrera to Planned Parenthood. I did it in 4.
Woo! Well done.
I mean, anytime there's a movie, I'm always like,
this is actually a movie I'm pretty excited to see, which is another reason why it was my choice.
I literally was like hedging, being like, I said Ryan Gosling was in Barbie with confidence. And then for a second, I was like, was Ryan Gosling in Barbie? He was, though.
He was.
It wasn't until like 4 years ago that I couldn't differentiate between Ryan Gosling and Ryan Philippe, which I don't know what happened to that guy. Remember that guy?
Yeah, I could see that. You know, Ryan Gosling is sure an attractive man, but also kind of just nondescript.
Yeah, he's a non thing to me. More importantly, I won. Where are my accolades? You know what? Should we give some man credit for me getting 6 degrees right? I feel like that guy from the Heritage Foundation would just want a man to be celebrated. Let's celebrate Ryan Gosling.
Let's celebrate Ryan Gosling. See, Liz, you're getting on board. You get it.
I understand. I feel like I can do this.
As always, these stories will be in our show notes, and you can find the best, most up-to-the-minute resources on accessing abortion care and funding for your care on our website, aafront.org. Our Charlie chatbot on the bottom right will walk anyone, anywhere in the country through their options and resources for abortion.
You know, we do this show because this info just is not given enough attention in the media. So help us spread the word by liking, subscribing, and giving us a 5-star rating. Even giving us a little review. Every little, right? We never say that, but like, write a review. Every little bit helps us reach more listeners. So do it.
Well, there are a few dudes out there who we know who actually do believe women should have their humanity recognized under the Constitution. And one of them formed a band with some other great ones, and they toured the country playing an amazing show while supporting reproductive rights.
They give us our flowers every night, unlike that fucking guy from the Heritage Foundation. I'm not letting rid of that guy. So he's here with us on the pod today. The show we're talking about is the incredible tribute to the R.E.M songbook with Michael Shannon and an epic band. And the work of AAF was supported by this project. Yep, this dude is the dude.
So this is a man I'm willing to celebrate, here to talk about all that and his amazing book, Mostly the Van, is a musician who seemingly has played with every single band formed between 1981 and 2012. Please welcome Jason Narducy.
Hey, Jace.
Hi, Jason.
Hi, everybody. Great to see you all.
It's good to see you. We're super excited to talk to you because we're going to start blabbing a little bit about the R.E.M. homage that I like to call it an homage because it's not really
That's a great word for it.
right? Because it's not really a tribute. I've been calling it a songbook, because it's like a lot of stuff that it is and some stuff that it's not. So you have turned what so many folks have now called their favorite thing to do all year. And I know that because I talk to every person that comes to your show. So I can give you a little focus group, right?
Yeah.
And it just keeps getting better and better.
It really does, Jason. Actually, Mike Mills, the bassist for R.E.M., recently wrote that one of the gifts you gave him was the opportunity to experience watching his music performed as a fan experience when watching R.E.M., which is such an incredible thing to hear, I'm sure, as an artist. Can you talk about what that means to you?
Yeah. I mean, Mike Mills wrote this thing that the R.E.M. socials posted that was so moving. I got a hold of him afterwards and I said, I'm not ashamed to say I was very moved by what you wrote. And he actually said he was too when he wrote it and read it back to his wife. It can be overwhelming, this project, because we're such big fans of the band and the fact that they're such kind people with so much humility and comfort with their careers and their legacy. And not all artists are like that or have the fortune to be like that. So Mike Mills came to our very last show of the tour, which is in this tiny place called Bloomington, Indiana. It's not even that easy to get to. So it's amazing that he did that. And then we got stuck in a snowstorm. So he stayed an extra day because the show got held back an extra day. So it's just constant levels of amazement and it's tough to absorb. It's really something else. So how does it feel? It's just amazing. It's just, Liz, I love homage. I think homage is, open songbook. I don't know. We're looking out into the audience and seeing people as happy as we are and sometimes moved. And it just feels like this special thing that no one could have predicted or planned. But fortunately, people keep buying tickets, which means we can afford to keep doing it.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny, Jason, because this year we were out with you a bunch and I wondered if I would be like, oh, do I have to hear it again? Right. And every time I'm just dancing and having the best time. And that's such a testament. And the one thing that I really wanted to ask you, sort of in keeping with this, is, this project started with you and Michael, who are super good friends, and you were doing different albums and doing this. And then you did this one, right? So it was like a small, fun, let's do this because we both love this. And then all of a sudden it grows and it becomes this other bigger thing. It moves away from the let's put up some curtains in our garage and do this thing, right? To now we're doing this thing and it's really real and it's very cool. And these fans are super relying on us, right, to give them this experience. How has that changed the fun for you? Or has it, or just has it shifted because there's pressure now?
I hope this doesn't sound arrogant, but I don't feel pressure.
It doesn't sound arrogant at all.
Okay. And it's not because I don't take it very seriously. Listen, it's really easy to play these songs that you love, that we love, for people who are so excited about it. I mean, that's kind of a dream, and I think it just says so much about, when you said that, am I going to get sick of this? It says a lot about the R.E.M. catalog and we were playing deep cuts too. We weren't playing any of the biggest hits or anything. So I think it says a lot about the band and the love for the band and the legacy of the band, the way that they conducted themselves politically, which relates to our work, and also just as humans. I mean, one of my friends, Gerald Dowd, just played a night of R.E.M. at the City Winery in Chicago last weekend, packed, totally packed out. So this band is special and people want to celebrate it. And I love that many bands are doing that, and we're happy to be one of them.
Sometimes I feel like I've done projects where it feels like cheating because it's so fun
Yeah.
that it's like, am I like, this is so fun and I get to do this for my job and it feels like cheating.
That's also what I heard when you said, when you were like, no, it's not hard. It's like, oh, well, no, this is what you love. And this is something that you're good at. This is something, you read the book. You've been doing music forever. Of course you could do music you love casually, maybe not get stressed about it.
No, that's a great point. I mean, let me preface that with there's a ton of work ahead of time, not only learning the songs, but as kind of the musical director, delegating and interacting with these amazing musicians who have their ideas of their own, and we work together on all those things. And it's evolving as the tour goes on too. I mean, Liz, you can attest to the different dances that Michael and I came up with.
Yes.
So there's a ton of work and also just kind of the detail work that has to happen when you're touring with 10 people in the party around the country during different seasons. And we got tripped up by 2 snowstorms. And that's just one example. There was a ton of rain and a lot of air travel. And honestly, by the time we hit the stage, I'm sort of like taking, whew, all right, let's enjoy this. Let's be in the moment. So that is kind of the easy part. And I am so fortunate not only to have this amazing band, but Michael really carries the show. And that makes it pretty easy for the rest of us.
So, Jason, this is the 3rd year that the band, you've donated proceeds of the poster that is sold during the show to AAF. Now, we didn't ask you for this. You generally came to us with this proposal, which is incredible. So you're a person who is pretty tuned in to everything in the world. Why was AAF, why were we the org that you decided to put your effort towards?
Well, I knew Liz. And I loved what I had read about what she had done. And I think she and I had talked about it a couple times. It actually started before the tours because we did the first show in 2023 and we made a poster. And that's how the whole thing kind of like, when I presented to Mike, how can we raise money for a cause that we believe in? And then it just made sense to me to continue it. And fortunately, it keeps growing. I mean, Liz has been this amazing conduit for us because we did this show in Mexico in January, and I was reading about what was going on in Twin Cities, and Liz put us together with another group that we could raise money for. And it just feels like if we're fortunate to do this kind of work, then we can try to raise awareness and provide some support.
It's so helpful. And this year was super helpful because, in knowing that, this is happening, for us to say, let's actually go this year and do some like profound work with people who are so left out of it, and to have somebody who is writing a book about the tour, Jen, come with us and experience it. So it was very fun.
Did she go to the clinics too?
She came to with us in North Carolina, and she was painting and hanging stuff with us. And she was like, now I totally get it. Right. So that part was really cool. But what I wanted to ask you is, this is only 3 years of your life, right? This R.E.M. project. So you've had a whole career of your own band, starting when you were in the womb, I think, Verboten. Were you at 11 or something? 9? How old were you?
Yeah, I was 11.
Okay, you were 11. And then then you have Split Single, which is you, and then you have Session People, and then you work with Superchunk and Bob Mould and The Pretenders and Sunny Day and on and on and on. So you work with so many bands. One thing I've never asked you is, what is your criteria to say yes? Right? When a band says, hey, and what is your criteria like to be like hard pass on this one?
So you met my youngest daughter, Eva. She was very excited to meet you. The next day she had never been in New York City before. So we had this whole day of experiencing New York. And the first thing we did is we went and got coffee. And at coffee, she said to me, Daddy, my bass teacher, who's about 30 years old and is a gigging musician, told me that there's 3 factors that you should consider before agreeing to do a gig. And I want to know what you think of these factors. So now it's Eva talking. She goes, number 1, the hang.
Yeah.
So the people. Number 2, compensation. Is it good? Is it fair? Is it anything? And then she goes, and number three, I can't think of it. And I said, Eva, is it the music? She's like, yes. I said, yeah, that's a really big factor.
Oh my God.
Which was adorable that she spaced out on that. But hearing that in such basic terms is really helpful to be reminded of just the most It's what we all consider when we're thinking about work, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really good for me to hear in the middle of a tour when I'm realizing I have this with this tour. I have all three. All three are right there. And I'm really fortunate with the other bands that that's also the case. So there are musicians who can be hired to play music. They don't care what type of music it is, and they're very talented and they just do that. And I make no judgment on that. I don't do that. Maybe at some point I will, but as of right now, I just work with bands whose music I like. So that's the biggest criteria. And then, you know, with the ones you named, those are all people I really care about and I love traveling with. So it's been, I know how fortunate I am because not every musician or anybody in any working situation has that luxury.
I really want folks to know that you are an incredible storyteller. I've seen you in giant rooms, 1,500, 2,000 seat rooms. I've seen you in people's living rooms, and your living room shows and your house parties are so much fun because you sing and you do storytelling, like literally moth level, great storytelling. And you've compiled a bunch of these stories in a book. It's volume 1 called Mostly the Van. People have their favorite stories. My favorite is because I will not shut the fuck up about Minneapolis is your story about Grant Hart and being at 7th Street in the basement and then seeing Prince come out of the limo into First Avenue, which if you live in Minneapolis, everybody has I've seen Prince come out of a limo or some weird Prince story.
Yeah, or grocery store. Yeah.
Or the grocery store, right. I'm glad that you had that experience. But Moji and I share a favorite story in the book.
What I love about the story is this story sort of sounds like the musician who comes to us and says, hey, I want to raise money for your organization. And that's actually the Indiana pizza story, right? Where you are in Indiana performing and then you realize that
something ensues.
I don't want to tell the whole story, but just the way that you were like, well, I'm not going to do nothing about this. I'm going to do something. And I just thought that was really cool.
Can you tell the story, Jace?
My solo band was on tour, so I'm with a bassist and a drummer in the van, and I read this story, the story that we were all reading at the time about that little town in Indiana, about the pizza place that wouldn't serve the gay wedding. And I'm so glad that they were good sports about this, but I just asked, can we just pull off the road and see what is going on with all this? And there were 4 skeleton TV crews set up for interviews, but there was no one on the street and they wanted to interview us. And I was like, well, I have some questions for you guys. What's going on? And I just kept on asking questions about it. And finally I was like, is there another pizza place in town? And like, yeah, I'm a mile up the road. So we went up there and I asked the person at the desk, I was like, if I ordered pizza for a gay wedding, would you serve me? And I didn't put this in the book because she actually used profanity. She said, of course I would. I didn't vote for that fucker. And I was like, well, then I would like $100 worth of pizza from you. And I started, this was back when Twitter was kind of fun, when we had a lot of comics and community. And I started getting people excited about it. And then by the time we got back to the site of that restaurant with the pizzas, there was now protesters. And so I'm handing out what we called non-discriminatory pizza to the protesters. And then CNN covered it. And it was a lot of fun. And then of course the right wingers jumped in and posted a picture of me, but they said something like, gay musician Jason Narducy hands out pizzas. It was just this moment in time where I couldn't help but poke a little bit. And I don't remember if I put this in the book, but I reached out to Margaret Cho and I reached out to Bob Mould. They had decent followings on Twitter and they just amplified it. And we had fun with it. So yeah, I guess I've been trying to use the music platform as a way to express my political views for
a long time.
Yeah.
And, we have to wrap up soon, but the one thing I did, just kind of piling onto this, I know Dave Grohl in his memoir said that, your youth band, Verboten, was inspiring to him. And I was a big Nirvana fan. I love Foo Fighters. But my favorite thing Dave Grohl ever did was rent a flatbed truck.
Yes.
And did
Bee
Gees driving around the Westboro Baptist Church to annoy those assholes. So
they came to the Foo Fighters and they were protesting on this area and they rented the flatbed and went to them and told them, we love you and we accept everything that you are, and played the Bee Gees for them.
That was so great.
I was going to say, this is so small world. Do you remember coming to see me play at Comet Ping Pong?
Yes, I do.
before I knew you were coming, we did sound check, and Bob Mould texted me that he was in DC, and I said, "Where are you?" He's like, "I'm at the Black Cat. I'm playing a show, a late show, and the early show is Dave Grohl and his mom talking about her book about raising rock stars. She interviews other moms and stuff." So it's funny that you bring up Dave Grohl, and it's funny that you bring up all these weird ass right wing, conspiracy theory things, because you were there the day that I ran over and said hi to Dave and Bob and played at Comet Ping Pong, the actual site of Pizzagate.
And they don't have a basement, which is my favorite part of the Pizzagate of Comet Ping Pong. They said Hillary Clinton ran the ring out of the basement. It's like, there's no basement. But so I one time tweeted, I don't know what I was thinking. I was in a dark place. I was like, I hope when I die, some of you come to my funeral. And Westboro Baptist Church tweets back, "We'll be there," which was kind of amazing. Not the point of the story. The point of the story is, I feel like if we could ever arrange it, and these anti-abortion assholes were out in front of a clinic on an off day that the tour is happening, that we figure out some musical way
Flatbed.
shut them down, flatbed it up, flatbed mayhem in one of these towns, because they deserve it. They deserve it. It would be so
That
fun.
would be fun. I would love to.
I know. It would be really quite fun. The one thing we know how to do is have a good time. I don't want to threaten you with a good time, but I think we can make it happen. Jace, what's going on next?
Well, speaking of the book, I'm doing a ton of solo touring, Midwest, East Coast, West Coast. And so it's the same thing, like you said, the living room shows. Sometimes it's in venues, but it's always the songs and stories and bringing the book along. And so a ton of that and more of the Michael Shannon stuff. We're going to the UK and Ireland.
That's really awesome. And you're doing some dates with my old college roommates too. Soul Asylum.
Roommates? Do I not? I don't know this.
Oh my gosh. I got to see today as well. So this is great for both of us.
Danny Murphy was my roommate. And then Dave's girlfriend all through college was our other roommate. And so the Soul Asylum, Liz Winstead, shitty house with a bad toilet, reign of terror in Minneapolis existed.
Amazing. Well, Murph isn't in the band anymore. But...
No, Murph isn't in the band anymore. He's got his own thing that's really cool. But you got Dave and...
Yeah, Dave. And it's just going to be Dave and this guy named Ryan as an acoustic duo, and I'm going to open up for them solo.
So fun.
Jason, it was so great to have you. This is fantastic. I feel like you have 12 more stories in you to tell us on this podcast, but maybe people should just buy your book.
Oh, thank you.
Can you tell folks where to find you?
Yeah, it's available at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame website.
Hello, humble brag drop.
Real casual about that.
Isn't that cool?
That's exciting.
It's available at porchlightbooks.com.
And where can people find you on social and stuff?
Jason Narducy on Instagram and Threads, and Blue Sky, same thing. Those are the best ones.
That's awesome. And we'll put all of that stuff in our show notes. So don't worry, folks, if you didn't jot it down. Jason, thanks for sharing your time. You're inspiring in a lot of ways.
You guys are too. You guys inspire us.
Thanks for being there and being awesome.
Great to see you guys.
Good luck on the road.
Thank you.
Liz, that's our show.
It is our show. You know what, Moji? I'm going to ask you this every week. Do you feel smarter?
Yeah.
Did you laugh?
Belly aching.
Okay, folks, are you smarter? Did you laugh? Because if you did, and if you are, show us again some love by liking, subscribing, and giving us a 5-star rating. And if you want to go extra, we talked about it earlier, but why not bring it up again? Join our Patreon. You'll get great content, cool merch, a happy birthday shout out, plus all the pledges support this pod and all of our activism at Abortion Access Front. So you can just pledge at patreon.com/Feminist Buzzkills.
Plus, Abortion Access Front brings the news and info every single day. So stay connected with us on social media at Abortion Front across all the platforms. With your help, we can get even more people to learn about this assault on abortion access.
Okay, now that we got you informed, let's get you activated. Check out our awesome trainings at OperationSaveAbortion.com. You can get an abortion activist glow up and learn about all the areas abortion providers and patients need your help.
And while you're there, poke around our super cool activist calendar. It's full of local and national actions and educational opportunities that you can just dive right into. Again, all of that is located at OperationSaveAbortion.com.
And if you want any more ways to get involved, sign up to volunteer. We need you. Go to our website, aafront.org, fill out the volunteer form, and let's figure it out together.
Listeners, we'll be dark next week, but we'll be back the following week with a few amazing guests for you. Earlier this year, a powerful short documentary called The Devil is Busy got nominated for an Oscar. It follows the everyday life of Tracy, the head of security at Atlanta's Feminist Center for Reproductive Liberation. And on our next episode, we get to talk to not just Tracy, but also the clinic's executive director, Kwajalein Jackson.
We love them so much. We love their clinic, and it's going to be a really, really great interview. Also, Kate Jatz joins us to talk about her new book, Where the Girls Were, an historical novel set at a home for pregnant teens in 1968. So ties into what we just talked about today and really talking about what those maternity homes were like in the 60s. You know what? Not great.
No, not great, Bob, at all. The Feminist Buzzkills podcast is edited and produced by Remy DeTournay and Jin Moon for Abortion Access Front. We can't wait to catch you guys in 2 weeks.
Have a great week. We'll talk to you on the flip side.
Feminist Buzzkills, the podcast from Abortion Access Front. New episodes drop Friday. When BS is poppin', we pop off. And if you want to support our podcast and all the work of Abortion Access Front, like, subscribe, and join our Patreon at patreon.com/feministbuzzkills.